Welcome into the PFF podcast. Steve Palazzolo back here with both Sam Monson and Mike Renner. It is a very special episode. We're going to go through all of the potential awards this year, all of the potential award winners from our favorite, the PFF Dwight Stephenson Award, not Donald, the best player in the NFL, offensive player, defensive player, rookie. We're going to go through every last one of them. But before we dive in, just want to tell you about our friends over at Draft. That is a great way to play fantasy football. Just search Draft in the App Store or go to playdraft.com. It's our new favorite way to play fantasy over at PFF. It's a best ball league, meaning you're going to draft your team and then just leave it. Don't worry about waiver wire. Don't even worry about trades or injuries because they're going to take the best players on your team every single week. It's not just NFL. If you want to do NBA, NHL, MLB, even some golf, it's all up on the site. Best part about it is you can win real money. So you put up a little bit of money. You could play a $1, $3, $10. Mike Renner wants to play a $100 game, and then you win prizes based on how well you do each week. Drafting simple. You can do a quick draft, or you could do a little bit longer draft. The quick draft takes about an hour. And again, this is the type of thing that you're just going to get addicted to in a good way.
I'm winning. My golf draft, I'm winning.
Sam's winning in his breaking news. Sam is winning in his golf draft. Sam has been addicted. Every time I look up in the office, he is on draft, just drafting a new team because drafts start every few minutes. You just jump in, you draft your team, and then you go. I think we're all going to have about 10 teams apiece during the season. So be sure to check it out, and we're going to give you a very special offer. You get a free $3 game when you use the promo code PFF over at Draft or at playdraft.com and you make your first deposit. So promo code PFF, get your free $3 game. We're all having a ball doing it, and we hope you guys will too. All right, fellas, we are talking awards. And as we were prepping for this episode, I looked up to Sam and I said, so we're going to do MVP? And he just said, no. We don't do MVP here at PFF. We do Dwight Stephenson Award only. And for you PFF fans, you may know our history. The Dwight Stephenson Award is for the best player in the NFL because we don't sit back and say, okay, how valuable is this player? We're just going to give you the best player in the NFL and not say, well, it's got to be a quarterback, because we do know that the quarterback is the most valuable player no matter what.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, the MVP is supposed to give you the best player. It's just that in the NFL, it's the value component of it means that it's always a quarterback.
And we just don't want to have the debates where it's like, well, what if they lose their starting quarterback, their backup is so bad, that means he's the most valuable. Like, people thought Derek Carr was the most valuable player last year just because Matt McGloin was terrible.
Yeah.
And that's not a good argument.
The most valuable player in the NFL is the best quarterback coupled with the worst backup every single year. And
I hate that argument.
Just take the backup.
We already did this.
Regardless, it's the best quarterback. But what we're going to do is the Stephenson Award. All right, last year's winner was Tom Brady. He was the best player in the NFL per the PFF grading. And, that was regardless of position. Past winners, J.J. Watt has it a couple times. Again, because it's just the best player. So I'll start with you, Sam. Did you name the Stephenson Award back in the day? We're going to bring it back by name.
I came up with the idea, and I think Neil gave us the official name. We were looking for, an unequivocally great former player that we could name the best player in the NFL award after.
And Neil was probably live grading him back in the 80s anyway. So who's your pick for the Stephenson Award or the best player in the NFL in 2017?
I'm going all in on this J.J. Watt on a return mission to dominate the NFL thing.
This is going to be a common theme up and down our list here?
Pretty much, yeah.
If he's going to penciled in J.J. for everyone.
If he's going to win the best player award, he's going to win the best several other awards as well. So, yeah, look, J.J. Watt, for the time that he's been healthy in the NFL, has been an absolute wrecking machine. And he's put up a lot of numbers when he wasn't 100% healthy. You write off last year, he's supposedly back to his best now. The first time he's actually healthy running into a season for a long time. He's going to dominate.
The guy works hard.
He does.
Here's the thing, though. He was already at like 100%, 110% motivation before. It's not like the return's going to give him any more motivation. Like, he was already there before.
Oh, so no, I think he's got 150. He's got 150% to fill.
But if he's actually healthy, I mean, he's been playing with that stupid scaffolding arm brace for like the last 5 years. So if he, is actually legitimately healthy at this point, maybe there's more there. And even if there isn't, like, even if he's just where he was, he's the best player in the NFL.
Yeah, I can't doubt J.J. Watt. I'm not going to say that that's crazy. It's like when he is healthy and when he is unequivocally the best player in football, regardless of position. So I'm not going to say that that's crazy, but
we have had many discussions about J.J. Watt internally and how much it looks like he's broken our grading system, because there were some games in the old plus-minus system where he was like a plus 15 or plus 16.
Steve, you can't mention the plus.
I can explain it. Okay. I can explain the story.
It's risky.
Where a good game would have been about a plus 4 or 5, and he was a plus 15 or 16. So he's almost broken our grading system. But Aaron Donald has also come in and put up comparable seasons in slightly different positions. We call J.J. Watt an interior rusher, but he does probably most of his work on the edge. So there's slightly different positions. Is Aaron Donald right up there in that conversation?
He is. He is also holding out preseason here. A little worrisome. Just a tad.
So you don't think you're going to come down to motivation?
But he's going to be rested.
I mean, I think he's right up there with J.J. Watt. If it's more, is he going to be game ready? Is he going to, take a little bit to get back into the swing of things?
Ring rust.
And also, he's feasted on the Seahawks offensive line. It's a little better this year. Like every year, it's like
a little better.
A 99 grade against the Seahawks O-line, and now they're a little better. So it's like a 94 grade.
Yeah, I don't think that's changing.
We have to run the Donald against the Seahawks numbers and maybe separate them out.
He does to his.
Watt's taking advantage of Jacksonville.
Yeah.
In Indianapolis.
I mean, fair. Okay.
Who's your pick, Mike? Who you got for the
Stephenson
Award?
I went a little differently, and I stuck at the quarterback position. I think Aaron Rodgers this year goes scorched earth on the NFL after. If you just look at his numbers from Week 10 through the playoffs last year, it was like 2011 Aaron Rodgers all over again.
Oh, he went on a run for sure.
And it would be in our grading system at that level. And a quarterback playing at that level to me that's like Tom Brady was a season ago. That's the best in the NFL.
Yeah, I have Rodgers down in my notes. I think Donald and Watt should both be up in the conversation. I don't think Brady's going to go. I don't think he's going to play as well as he did last year. There'll be at least a slight regression. You'll finally be right about Brady regressing this year, just because he has to come down a little bit from where he was. I was going to pick Rodgers as well, and so that there's some overlap there as well with some of the other awards. But if you eliminate there were two really bad games to Rodgers, and I know that the storyline for us a lot of last year was Aaron Rodgers isn't the same through, say, 7 weeks. But if you really break it down, there's two games. There was a Cowboys game in the Vikings game that he just was not good. The Vikings game, probably the worst game that we've graded for him, I think it was, and worst game of his career. So there was some bad in there, but I know you can't eliminate those two games, but you can objectively look and say, look, he was outstanding aside from two games. Are there any sleeper?
I was going to say, we always give
players?
it to D-line, QBs. Is there like a wide receiver, O-line, cornerback?
Well, I think Luke Kuechly.
That is in the mix, yeah.
Luke Kuechly's in the mix at linebacker. When he's healthy, concussion-free, one of the best run-defending linebackers, probably the best coverage linebacker. So when you add those two up, there's not much else you can do. I think Julio Jones at wide receiver. Any old linemen that stand up?
Yanda deserves to be in this conversation in the way he plays. He's been consistently the best guard for a while. Doesn't have a flaw, is as good as a run blocker as he is a pass protector. Last year, he swapped sides of the line midway through the season, didn't skip a beat. I mean, if he has a full 16-game slate the way he played last year, he should be in that conversation.
Are we going to drive up to Canton when he gets inducted? When Marshall Yanda becomes a Hall of Fame guard 8 years from now, whatever it is, are we going to the ceremony?
You think they'll put him in? Has he got the reputation yet?
I think we've built the reputation for him. I mean, when you look at his grades, it's insane. And my favorite part about it was his rookie year, he played right tackle.
Yeah.
And was one of the best tackles in the NFL in 2007. So Yanda's in there.
I would also throw in Landon Collins as a possibility.
Yeah. Ooh, you love Landon.
Loved him a season ago. Thought he should have been Defensive Player of the Year just in terms of how he impacted the game and all
disagreed,
levels. Sam doesn't think he plays the correct position to be Defensive Player of the Year. But I just think the way he impacts run, pass.
I'm with you, Mike.
Does it all. And that was his second year in the NFL.
There's something special about a safety that does impact the game like that as a run defender and in coverage and as a pass rusher.
Because the safety is a position where we usually see some sort of learning curve in terms of in a defense, you get better as it goes along. Year 3 and year 4 is when you start to be at your best. And he was already there by year 2. He was already elite at that level. Scary to think what he could do next year.
One other name if he stays healthy all season, Rob Gronkowski. I mean, it's 16 games of Gronk.
Yeah.
16 games of Gronk. And he has to be in there. That in on Stephenson?
Yeah.
No other fun names you want to throw in there? So there's some crossover with Mike and I, at least, for Offensive Player of the Year. So I'd assume, well, we both think Rodgers because we think he's the best player. We could discuss some of the other options.
Oh, yeah. Offensive Player of the Year is like always the best player that's not a quarterback, I feel like.
It can still be a quarterback.
Because it's always like the MVP is a quarterback, and then you can't name the MVP also.
Well, I mean, in the NFL's voting, it's just a way to give Antonio Brown an award or whoever it is.
Another reason MVP is a dumb award.
So let's start with Sam, your Offensive Player of the Year, since you picked Watt for the Stephenson.
I did. I'm going to go with David Johnson for Offensive Player of the Year. I think he is still learning the position. He is the most versatile running back in the NFL, at least until the Panthers fully deploy Christian McCaffrey. He's the one guy that's used as a legitimate wide receiver heavily as a running back in a way that people kind of credit Le'Veon Bell for that, but it doesn't really happen that much. The Cardinals use David Johnson that way, and he's a dominant runner as well. So you put all that together, you factor in a little bit of an improvement as he learns even more. I mean, if he stays healthy, he could put up ridiculous numbers for them.
He's just been such a big play threat.
Yeah.
Whether when they get him the ball in space, even when the blocking isn't great up front, it's not like he's been running behind this incredible offensive line in Arizona and he still makes things work.
That's the only reason I'd shy away from him, is because it's not getting any better, that offensive line this year. It's not like he has Le'Veon Bell's line where you think he could even take it to the next level in year 3. It's like he's probably already at the level that he's going to be at, just because that offensive line's not getting any better. That's basically my point.
Well, let's discuss Bell. I think he's in the mix as well. Mm-hmm. You mentioned the offensive line. I do think that they're solid across the board. I also think that we always talk about quarterbacks making the offensive line look better. Bell is one of those running backs who makes the offensive line look better too.
You're right about this. Yes.
Yeah, and I mean, it's just don't lose. If you just don't lose your block, he'll find the hole and kind of make guys look a little bit better. Not every running back can do that. And, we know how unique Bell is with that combination of patience and ability to hit the hole. And it looks like he's taken forever, and then boom, he's gone. I mean, Bell missed time last year, obviously, and was still a dominant player. You give him 16 games, he should put up some huge numbers as well.
Yeah, it's not even that he'll find the hole. It's that if you just stay engaged, he can create the hole with you, by moving the defenders around. As long as that offensive lineman stays engaged, he'll kind of get a better position by the way Le'Veon Bell moves. It's the same kind of thing as Aaron Rodgers in the pocket, and that he can almost reset the leverage of offensive linemen by the way he moves. So either way, defenders have to react to what that guy is doing, whether it's Rodgers or Le'Veon Bell running the ball. And as long as the offensive lineman stays on the block, he's going to end up in a better position in a second's time.
What about any other quarterbacks you think are in the mix? Of course, we both said Rodgers for the Stephenson. I think Brady probably competes here for Offensive Player of the Year. And then any other, Matt Ryan was the NFL MVP, and, he had an outstanding season. We just, didn't think that maybe he played as well as the incredible stats that he put up, but he's still an awesome quarterback. And even though he's losing Kyle Shanahan, can he duplicate some of the stuff he did last year? Is he in the mix as well?
Yeah, I mean, I think any of those next tier of guys, Andrew Luck, Matt Ryan, Tom Brady wouldn't be the next tier, but
Drew Brees, Russell Wilson.
Yeah, Derek Carr. I think any of those guys are realistically in the mix to have a Matt Ryan-esque year where all of a sudden they put everything together, and like all those guys have weapons on the outside to do it.
The one guy from that list that I think has a shot at it is Derek Carr. He played at that level for periods of last year. Had the tail end of the year taken away from him. But that's a team, I think, that has gotten better, or at least has stood pat with ridiculous weapons around him. You've got the receivers on the outside. You've got what should be one of the best offensive lines there. Beast mode in the backfield now. You've got something to lean on. I mean, Derek Carr could easily have that level of season.
Ezekiel Elliott, perhaps out of the mix with a pending 6-game suspension?
Yes, you miss any time.
Yeah, but if you bring it down to 3 games.
Okay.
Yeah,
or 2 games
maybe,
or something.
But 6 games is done.
If it stays at 6 games, he's done. Let's go wide receiver. I mean, I wrote down Julio Jones, too. I think it's Rodgers and Julio Jones would be my top two picks.
I put Antonio Brown.
You put Antonio.
Because what he did when he had Martavis Bryant was, I mean, like, that takes so much pressure off of him. And if he has, like, when he had Ben Roethlisberger healthy for a full season, he puts up just insane numbers.
Will Ben Roethlisberger stay healthy?
Gets out, it's like he puts up 30 yards a game, but Ben Roethlisberger plays a 16-game season. He's going for 1,600, 1,800 yards.
Antonio Brown does seem to get Landry Jonesed a couple times per season now, and that will hurt the production.
Wants to get Landry Jones.
Any sleeper names here on the Offensive Player of the Year watch? Marshall Yanda counts here as well, because PFF's giving out the awards, so we can give them out to offensive linemen. I would throw Tyron Smith in the mix, and might be giving away my offensive line. What's that?
He's got the back injury. That worries me. Back's not good for O-line.
No, I know. I know it's not, but when he's healthy and young.
I'm not going to debate that he's one of the best offensive linemen in the NFL.
Right.
It's obvious.
All right, let's go to defensive players. So, Sam, you've already picked J.J. Watt as the Stephenson Award winner, so I'm assuming that is your Defensive Player of the Year.
Yep.
Mike, give me your Defensive Player of the Year. You going to make something up out of nowhere or what?
No, I'm going Aaron Donald.
Okay, cool.
I think Aaron Donald. I trust him more to come back from a holdout than I trust J.J. Watt to come back from a back injury.
Interesting. That's interesting.
Trust him to be more ready.
I'm going to go with Watt. I think Watt will be. It's just such a track record of success with this one injured 3-game sample. You know, I just think he'll be back. Really scary what Houston can do up front because they played pretty well without him last year. So he's got, guys like Whitney Merciless.
Yeah.
Merciless and Clowney are so much better now than they were last time Watt was healthy.
They're better now than they were when he was last dominating. So
right.
It should make it easier for him from an assignment point of view.
Because the narrative a couple years ago was like, okay, Watt's dominant, but man, if they could just get a little bit more out of Clowney, a little bit more out of Merciless, those two guys stood out, stepped up last year. Without Watt now, with all of those guys, man, that is scary up front for Houston. I think Khalil Mack and Von Miller both have to be in this discussion as well as far as Defensive Player of the Year. Are those the top 4? If you're handicapping, is it Watt, Donald, Mack, and Miller? Are we too D-line centric?
Collins is in that mix as well. Mm-hmm. And a healthy Kuechly. I mean, a healthy
Kuechly for sure.
I don't know that Khalil Mack has anything more in him than we've seen the last couple of years. I think Von Miller does. He has the ability to go on a ridiculous run that I don't know if Khalil Mack does have.
If you're going to mention Donald going up against the Seahawks, you have to mention Mack going up against Broncos right tackles.
Yes.
Those are two 10 pressure games year over year.
Von Miller has the one disadvantage of not getting to face his own tackles in any other situation other than
we can't
practice.
Take your stats and production from practice. I'm sorry.
But yeah, those two guys are definitely in the conversation. J.J. Watt's production is just ridiculous, though. I mean, the 4 healthy years that he's had in the NFL, taken out his rookie year, which was not bad, but wasn't yet J.J. Watt, he averaged 93 total pressures. And I don't know how many guys have topped 100 total pressures in the time we've been grading, but like 93 total pressures, was it 96 led the league this year? Khalil Mack had 96, I think. So Watt is like 3 lower than the league leading figure basically for 4 straight years.
And he does it in multiple spots along the defensive front.
At least partly as an interior rusher, whereas it's almost always the edge rusher that gets the most pressure.
No, the craziest J.J. Watt stat I've ever seen, the one that I point to, and it's like that's just other level, is in 2014 he had 65 combined sacks and hits. So he took a quarterback to the ground 65 times.
That is crazy. That's 4 times a game.
Yeah.
There was at one point there was a number that Ben Stockwell looked into that was like average depth of tackle. Mm-hmm. You know, when you make a tackle, how far is that tackle going for? And at one point, Watt was averaging like 0.06 yards per tackle. Like when he took the guy down, it was basically at the line of scrimmage on average.
Yeah, I mean, we always talk about his pass rushing because it's the easiest way to convey his greatness, but he's also an outstanding run defender. I mean, the way he just sheds a block immediately right off the snap. He wins a little bit differently from, Donald shoots gaps. Watt just has those quick hands and just, tosses blockers aside. So it's an all-around game. Let's talk corners a little bit. Cornerbacks in the mix here. Guy like Patrick Peterson. If you take difficulty level in there, does Richard Sherman bounce back, not from what was a bad season, but maybe just a little step back from what he had before. Chris Harris, Aqib Talib, anyone else in this mix at corner for you guys?
Not for defensive player of the year, I don't think. There's one guy that I'll throw out a bit later when we start talking coverage guys that I think is in that conversation when you're just looking at cornerbacks. But I don't know that any of these guys are going to be in the defensive player of the year conversation unless someone has a crazy run of like interceptions that just vault them up the board.
Like a Marcus Peters?
Yeah, although he won't be good enough like down for the interceptions to put him up there.
Peters feels like the guy that will be teasing, potential defensive player of the year awards throughout his career because he does make so many plays on the ball.
Oh, he could win some, but
yeah.
I don't think we will ever give him one.
Right. I mean, look, the overall numbers are good. Grade-wise, he improved last year. Gets his hands on an incredible number of passes. So he has 15 interceptions in 2 years.
Yeah.
31 pass breakups. But he's also given up 1,744 yards into his coverage. That includes a couple playoff games. But you're looking at almost 800 yards per year. And if you get up in that 1,000 yards per year, 1,000 yards in a year is just like
bad.
Old school receiver. Like when a receiver gains 1,000, that's a really bad, it's a bad year.
Yeah, and one corner gave up 1,000 last year. Only 5 gave up 800.
There you go. So, and he's almost averaged 800. I know you include a couple playoff games there. The point is, he does give up a lot. It's a boom or bust type of game for Marcus Peters. Cool. That's defensive player of the year. Let's talk rookies, and we'll do offense first. We'll do offense and defense for the rookies. I think you generally end up skewing toward running backs, right? When it comes to this thing, I mean,
They're the most NFL ready. Like they're the ones who can step in and you can put up 1,200 yards if you're behind a solid offensive line, and it's not.
You don't get a whole lot of quarterbacks who come in and look, truthfully, like Dak Prescott did last year and looked like one of the better NFL quarterbacks as a rookie. Keeping this in the PFF perspective because, Mariota and Winston 2 years ago, they were more like top 18 to 20 quarterbacks in the NFL. But I think when you add in the fact that it's difficult to play rookie quarterback, that was outstanding years for those two guys. But what do you guys think about this year? There's a bunch of 3 first-round quarterbacks. There's a few running backs up there. Offensive rookie of the year candidates, Sam.
I don't see any of the quarterbacks playing particularly well. Even if they start all season long, I don't see any of those guys having a Dak Prescott kind of season. So quarterbacks are gone. I think the guy that has the best route to easy, quick playing time and the guy that's going to actually have ridiculous production behind that is Dalvin Cook.
Ooh. I can't believe it wasn't Christian McCaffrey. I was like over here mouthing Christian McCaffrey.
If I thought that Christian McCaffrey was going to start for Carolina and play all season long, I would be absolutely on board for that. But
you're not going to give him credit for all the times that Cam Newton overthrows him?
No. And I think more to the point, Jonathan Stewart is going to chew up enough of his playing time that we're just not going to see. We're not going to see Stanford Christian McCaffrey this year. Whereas we could easily see Florida State Dalvin Cook this year because the Vikings are basically already putting him at the top of the depth chart above Latavius Murray. He's a better player than Latavius Murray, so if he doesn't have to leapfrog him on the depth chart, he should be there every down back, essentially. And as long as that offensive line, which is not a guarantee,
here's the big
if it gets back to
it's a big if.
Even vaguely close to average, Dalvin Cook should be able to have a monster.
I will say he played behind about
exactly
as good an offensive line last year at Florida State.
So as long as the offensive line isn't what it was last year, he'll be okay.
That's what sold me on Cook even more, though, because the year before it was like, all right, he's a lot of big plays. About 60% of his yards came on his 15-plus yard runs. So, there was a lot of just big plays that made Dalvin's season in 2015. But last year he was a slightly different running back who was able to just, hey, here's a play that should have gone for nothing and you got 4.
Yeah, well,
this should have gotten 2 and you got 8. Those little things added up, and I think that's going to do him well. Minnesota.
Look at those numbers last year. He broke 91 tackles, which was the most of anybody in the FBS, and he averaged 4.2 yards after contact per touch. 4.2. That's a decent NFL average, and he did that after first contact.
I like the Dalvin Cook pick. Look, as far as fit, he's a first-round player. I thought on our board he was a top 10 to 15 type of overall player, even as a running back. Off-field stuff had him fall. I think it's a good fit, and he'll have the opportunity. I like the Dalvin pick.
I can't believe I'm the only one. I went Christian McCaffrey. So I'm a little sad that he's only played 3 snaps in the slot. So he's only lined up 3 snaps this preseason at wide receiver. But
that's the question,
it's
right?
Like, I don't think that you want to tip your hand.
No,
preseason.
They're not unleashing.
Like, I think you mentioned Jonathan Stewart's going to take away his touches. I think when Jonathan Stewart's on the field, you have to put Christian McCaffrey on the field as well. Like, it doesn't have to be necessarily both in the backfield, but one in the slot. And they used a lot of Mike Tolbert as a fullback last year. I think Jonathan Stewart could execute the fullback role as well as Mike Tolbert could with how, strong Jonathan Stewart is. He's like 235 pounds or whatever as well. He could do that. So I think
what numbers
McCaffrey will be getting a lot of touches, even if it's not, 15 carries a game. I think he gets 10 carries a game, 4 or 5 targets plus. And I think that's enough to win.
What numbers do you think he ends up with at the end of the season?
Maybe like 800 rushing yards, 500 receiving yards.
1,000 receiving yards. Look, I feel like I say it on every podcast. Not only am I curious to see what Carolina does, I'm a little scared of okay, is it going to be a short pass game where McCaffrey is a big part of it, and you have Cam Newton trying to be this precision short game passer. There's a lot of different ways they can go, whether it is put McCaffrey and Stewart on the field, put McCaffrey and Curtis Samuel on the field, focus on the run game. There's a lot of ways they can use him. But your point, Sam, was maybe they're not going to deploy him either well enough or just enough in general to be in this discussion.
Yeah, for Rookie of the Year, I just worry that he's going to get enough volume to prove how good he is. I mean, the other concern is whether maybe Carolina are keeping their powder dry in terms of how they're going to use him. But my concern for the last 2 years with Christian McCaffrey is going to be, is he going to go to a place that's actually going to make
Will the NFL know what to do with him?
Yeah, exactly. Are they going to just deploy him as a regular running back and say, you can do a pretty good job doing this, and basically waste his talent? Or are they actually going to take a look at what he can do, his skill set, and say, this could make this guy the most devastating offensive weapon in today's NFL?
He's a good running back and a good receiver. Use him in both ways. Yeah. Corey Davis, even though he has not been healthy.
Hall of Fame.
And I did make the bold prediction before the draft, guys, that he's going to be a top 10 receptions leader. He's going to be top 10 all-time in receptions.
You came out of that.
That was
came up with that out of nowhere.
That was my bold.
You were put on the spot to have to give a bold prediction, and that's what you came up with.
I'm going to start counting. We'll have a counter on my desk over here in the office. And he's at 0 right now, so we got some work to do.
Top 10 up there, and then he's slowly going to climb.
I love Corey Davis. Look, I don't care. He hasn't been on the field. He hasn't been healthy during the preseason, but if he does get healthy, I think Marcus Mariota is going to target him frequently.
I will say at wide receiver, if we're picking one guy, I think John Ross will be featured more heavily in terms of Cincinnati's just going to have to be a more high-volume passing games than they're just not. I don't think they're going to be able to run the ball well with that offensive line. I think it's going to be a lot of passes,
quick passes,
and complementary to A.J. Green, I think you'll see a lot of deep targets in that offense. So I think he'll get featured and have a better chance of putting up good numbers his rookie year, whereas Corey Davis might be the number one, but they're just not going to pass a lot.
I'm going to throw one more name in the mix, and I know you don't see a whole lot of tight ends as outstanding high-volume rookies, but I think O.J. Howard is going to have some opportunities in Tampa Bay. You still have Cameron Brate there, but they use a ton of 2 tight end sets, 3 tight end sets. Very creative. They move them around. You have Deshaun Jackson opening things up. That's going to be one of the fun offenses to watch in Tampa Bay. And I'm not saying O.J. Howard's going to win, but I like his chances probably more than most rookie tight ends because I think it's a good fit for him. And, big guy up the seam that Jameis Winston can take advantage of.
I'm surprised Mike didn't go with Joe Mixon.
Yeah, I just don't. That offensive line.
Well, you just said that you don't think they're going to run.
Yeah, that offensive line is just too bad for him to get enough touches.
But he's a good receiver as well, so maybe.
I will say the guy who I would have picked is already hurt, and it's Forrest Lamp. I thought he would have been a shoe-in for Offensive Rookie of the Year. For us, obviously.
Right.
No one's ever going to vote for
because we pick offensive linemen if they deserve it. How about Defensive Rookie of the Year? This one feels much more wide open. Defensive Rookie, Sam, you're going to go with your boy?
I'm not.
Oh, no.
I don't know that he's going to play enough to earn it.
We're talking about
Derek Barnett.
Yes.
Obviously, Derek Barnett is going to be a dominant stud. It's proven.
Well, maybe not this year. Maybe not
exactly.
This year.
Maybe the Eagles are not far enough ahead to understand what they have in Derek Barnett, and he's not going to play enough to get what he so richly deserves.
Right.
I've come around to this Myles Garrett thing. I could easily see Myles Garrett winning Rookie of the Year.
Sheds one block against a fourth-string left tackle, and all of a sudden you're sold, huh?
Not just one block. There's a couple of games in there. I've been impressed.
So Garrett, I think, certainly should be in the mix. Is that your official pick?
I think so.
That's who you're going with? He's going to have the opportunities, and he looks great. He looks great so far. Mike, who do you have for
I had Myles Garrett.
Defensive?
Yeah, he looks the part. So.
I wrote down a bunch of names, Garrett being one of them. If I had to pick, if we're making a selection, I'm going to say him. I have to say Solomon Thomas has looked really good, too, in San Francisco. Sam, you compared him to Michael Bennett. And I know people throw Michael Bennett comps around all the time because it's your standard defensive end that kicks inside. But a couple pass rushes this preseason, Solomon Thomas did look a lot like Michael Bennett. Quick hands, quick off the ball. Seems like he's going to get opportunities to rush against guards.
The Michael Bennett comparison for him isn't because he plays inside the same way Michael Bennett does. It's not just a sort of deployment thing. It's that he actually looks like Michael Bennett when you see some of the plays he makes in terms of how he wins. It's exactly the same stuff. So you get the Michael Bennett comparison to anybody who's going to kick inside and play and rush in the inside on third downs, pass rushing situations. But for Solomon Thomas, I think it goes an extra layer beyond that. It's because he actually does play like Michael Bennett as well. It's going to be used that way as well.
Have to keep an eye on Jonathan Allen as well. Mm-hmm. Jonathan Allen will get his opportunities in Washington. A guy that he's a top 5 type of pick, goes 17 overall. And another guy that could have been a top 5 pick, Reuben Foster.
I was going to say Reuben Foster very well could be.
So 2 49ers that we think have a chance to be in that defensive rookie of the year conversation. Any sleepers for either of you guys? Just outside chance guys that maybe will have a few more opportunities?
I would say Marshawn Lattimore or Jamal Adams if they didn't play in those defenses.
Bad defenses.
Yeah.
Lattimore, of course, needs to stay healthy as well. His hamstring was an issue coming out of the draft. And even now, as of recording time, some rumblings about him coming off the field at practice for the Saints. All right, that'll do it for the rookies. Let's go by position group right now. So best quarterback this season. Mike and I already picked Rodgers for the Stephenson Award. So, Sam, who would you pick as the best quarterback this year?
Yep, I'm on board with you guys. I think this will be Rodgers. I agree. I think he's in a good run at the moment. He's probably not going to have the funk that he had to begin last season, so he should be the best quarterback.
God, that's way too much agreement for us.
He should be. Okay, well, let's throw the curveball in there. 2015 was not vintage.
Yes,
Aaron
from
Rodgers.
2015 through like week 9 of last year was
right. There was a year plus of Aaron Rodgers that was not up to par. And up to par, we've seen him 2011 Aaron Rodgers, 2014 Aaron Rodgers. There were like debates about which sections of Aaron Rodgers' career are the best quarterbacking you've ever seen. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's how good he's been throughout his career. 2011, 2014, 2016. There are these stretches. If he could put that full stretch together for just another season again, it should be him. But don't forget, we are a year removed from him struggling a little bit, especially for him.
A lot of what it was, though, and I actually wrote about this at the end of last season, was how he fared versus man coverage. He was facing the most man coverage of any quarterback in the league last year because of the fact that he just couldn't be, like, he wasn't throwing with timing. He wasn't throwing on the break of his routes, and a lot of times his receivers weren't winning. Now he has Martellus Bennett, who's probably going to beat man coverage. Now he has Ty Montgomery at running back, who you don't want to play in man coverage because he's a wide receiver playing running back. You don't want a linebacker on him.
And Jordy's a year removed.
Jordy's
from
fully
surgery.
Healthy. Devontae Adams.
Devontae at least looked really good. Yeah. Really good in the second half last season.
So now he has weapons that you don't really want to play man coverage against him anymore. And then if you're playing zone, he shreds that fairly well. So
yeah, we talked about this a lot last year. I think in general, just the scheme's not really set up to scheme open against man. So they do rely heavily on just, here, go beat your man.
Yes.
And Rodgers, since 2015, for that year, was not trusting the scheme, not trusting the system. So that when he's playing within the system and then making those special plays outside of the system, that's when he is special. Again, I think the other guys, Tom Brady should be up in there. Matt Ryan should be in the discussion. Any outside?
Yeah, we said Derek Carr just because he has so many weapons at his disposal offensively. They added Jared Cook, Amari Cooper, Michael Crabtree, maybe arguably the best 1-2 punch in the league, and then a running game with an offensive line that's going to protect him. There's really zero excuse for him not to be, 10 take the next step to join the elite level of quarterback.
And he's continued to get better every single season. I think Russell Wilson and a healthy Andrew Luck also, at least in the outskirts of that conversation. Hey guys, football season is right around the corner, and I just want to tell you about our friends over at DraftKings. With DraftKings 1 Week Fantasy Football, they're giving away $100,000 in prizes in an absolutely free-to-enter contest. And there's actually $1 billion on the line if you draft the perfect lineup. It's their 1 Week Fantasy Football. With DraftKings, so many different ways to play, whether you're choosing from a public contest with big cash prizes or the private contest where you just compete against a group of friends. There's beginner, there's casual games, there's even expert level games. Our friends over at PFF Fantasy dominate those all the time. The best part about it is you draft a new team each week without any commitment. So get to DraftKings.com now. If you use the promo code PFF, you get a free Week 1 contest with that $100,000 in prizes available. And of course, if you draft that perfect lineup, you have the opportunity to win $1 billion. That's promo code PFF for that shot at $1 billion Week 1. The contest is totally free to enter, so why not give it a try? DraftKings, the game inside the game. Eligibility restrictions do apply, and go check out DraftKings.com for more details. Sam and I have already entered and fired up our teams, so compete against us as well. Let's go to running back. So we're just going by position group. Who's going to be the best running back in the NFL, starting with you again, Sam?
So this might sound a little bit illogical since
if you don't pick David Johnson.
David Johnson is Offensive Player of the Year. But I think David Johnson is going to be a better weapon than he is a running back. I think the best running back...
You're saying runner, so you're really being specific here.
I am, and I think that's kind of what this was for. But it's been... I'm not in love with the best running back award. That was outside of my control. I think Jordan Howard has a shot at this.
Ooh,
he was a guy who, Mike spent all last year saying if you swap Jordan Howard and Zeke Elliott, you're going to end up having the same kind of production behind that Dallas offensive line.
I did say this.
And if anything, you would get better rushing production. Jordan Howard's problems last year were all as a receiver, where I think he dropped 8 passes from 29 receptions or something ridiculous.
3 in a game, and so it
was a ludicrous percentage of targets that got dropped, which is probably not going to happen again because
he had 4 in a game.
Yeah, I mean that was an unsustainably bad performance in terms of dropping the ball. If you have basic hand-eye coordination, you don't have that level of drops, and so he should get better at that. But the numbers he put up in terms of running the ball were pretty phenomenal. He averaged 3 yards per carry after contact, broke 40 tackles, both of which were better numbers than Zeke Elliott managed despite 70 fewer attempts. 1 fumble versus 5 for Elliott. And that Chicago offensive line should be pretty good. They might have the best interior in the league between Kyle Long, Cody Whitehair, and Josh Sitton. If the tackles are okay, that's a pretty phenomenal offensive line blocking for him as well.
Right guard Josh Sitton now.
Yeah.
And left guard Kyle Long. For some reason.
They flipped him.
I'm not going to argue with that because I love Jordan Howard and I love that interior offensive line. I think it's perfect. They run a ton of outside zone in Chicago, and outside zone, you need that interior getting pushed so you can make that cutback on the runs. So I think he has a big season as well. But I think Jay Ajayi, to me, I thought he was last year the best runner
progression
that I saw, and I think he will be again this year. The offensive line worries me a little bit. Those guards are doomed to be terrible in Miami. That's just how it works there. But to me, he was easily the best runner, pure runner last year that I saw in the NFL. Run so hard. I mean, the stats back it up. 58 broken tackles, most in the NFL on carries. I mean, average 3.5 yards after contact per attempt, most in the NFL as well.
I would bet good money that he doesn't have anything like the same kind of season.
I know you will, but I just think they'll be good. And I think the defenses in the AFC East.
Well, look, let's do this. We're now live in the same place. Let's put wagers on this.
Put some money on the table right now, guys.
It doesn't need to be money. We can get into trouble with money. Let's put something else on the table. Me and Mike will have a friendly little wager about
something clothing related. So how about you have to dress like Renner If
I don't think I can even do that.
If you lose.
You have a workout tank top.
And Mike, you have to look somewhat respectable when you come into the office from now on.
No, I'm not going to accept that bet.
This is a serious bet. There's a lot on the line here.
That's a lot on the line.
We'll have to put on our Instagram feed. You guys should follow us at ProFootballFocus.com.
I don't want to buy a new wardrobe, Steve.
Follow us at ProFootballFocus.com for the Instagram feed. We'll give you a snapshot of what Renner generally looks like when he comes to the office. We need the terms
for this, right? So I would say that Jay Ajayi's grade last year, 87.5, his overall PFF grade was, that was ranked 4th in the league. You're saying he's going to get better, or if anything, I would bet whatever we're going to put on this, that he will have a lower overall PFF grade.
Oh, I don't want overall, I want running grade.
What's his running grade?
This is running.
Okay, we'll say. All right, I'll go with that. 88.9 is his rushing grade.
That's going to go up, Mike?
Yeah.
I will bet that's going down. Now we're just going to decide what we're putting on this. All right, we'll decide the terms. We'll let you know, but that's the bet. Jay Ajayi's rushing grade this year, over under.
We will let you know
doesn't get to grade his games. You're going to lowball him.
We have enough checks and balances to keep Sam in line. Ajayi, I keep saying it, though. There was no running back who made more out of nothing than him last year. There were so many runs where you said, there's no way you should have gotten 20 on it should have been a 2-yard loss, and he turned it into 20. My choice for best runner is Le'Veon Bell. Again, I just think that unique running style, making his offensive line look good, has a knack for finding 4, finding 5, finding 6 yards, and has a little bit of big play ability in there as well. So I'll take Le'Veon.
No one's picking David Johnson?
Well, we're talking pure runner.
Weapon, not running back.
Fun fact about David Johnson, only running back to have a +2 graded run each of the last 2 years.
Ooh.
How about that? Our top graded run, and he's got 2 of them.
Yeah.
That's a good nugget. Let's go to best receiver. Who's going to be the best receiver in the NFL? This is just wide receiver, or are we saying David Johnson can win this?
So this was the thing. Last year, David Johnson did win it. So he was our best receiver in the game last year. This is where I like the PFF awards because they cross positions.
It's relative to your position.
That's why I'm not wild on running back because it doesn't really, there's no way for anybody who isn't a running back really to win that.
Well, a guy like Tavon Austin could be best runner. He's in the mix.
It would take a quarterback having something ridiculous, like
Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, Lamar Jackson or Cam Newton rushing for 1,000 yards.
2006 Michael Vick.
Something like that. So I guess it is possible, but it's just not going to happen. Whereas receiver, we've already given it to David Johnson. A tight end could win that. Gronk, a Gronk season could easily win best receiver, and of course all the wide receivers. That being said, this year I think it will be a wide receiver who wins it. Odell Beckham, angling for a new contract, has already been phenomenal. You give that guy the motivation of some hard Benjamins, and we're going to see something ridiculous from Odell Beckham this year.
I heard the other day.
Look at you playing.
Minor, twinge in the old
He's
ankle.
also, fun fact, gotten worse every year of his career in terms of production-wise.
Well, he's been
just
hampered.
As has his quarterback, Eli Manning.
That's one part of it, but still.
It's a little risky because Eli Manning could, hang him out to dry over the middle of the field again.
He did that last year, and he still was pretty ridiculous.
Odell Beckham, not a bad pick. I think when you're talking about the best wide receivers in the NFL, it has to be him, Julio Jones, Antonio Brown. Are those the 3 guys that you're just starting with?
Yeah. So Antonio Brown has the route running, the savvy, he's got all the ridiculous things without the kind of dominant physical abilities. Julio Jones has got all the dominant physical abilities. He's the closest receiver in today's NFL to Randy Moss in terms of you don't have anybody on defense that can go one-on-one against that.
I always say Julio is the one guy that can take over a game like no other receiver.
But it's because of the physical stuff. You look at Randy Moss and you just say, there's nobody on defense can run with him. There's nobody on defense can jump with him. I can't stop that guy.
Right.
Julio Jones is the closest we have to that right now. But Odell Beckham has just freaky God-given ability to catch the ball. It's ridiculous. The backhanded one-hand catch over Janoris Jenkins in training, the highlight reel stuff that he does every game before warm-ups, the catch, against Dallas, which is probably the greatest catch in NFL history. He just has a list of these things that nobody else can do that. There are guys that will make one of those every now and again. He's making them every day for fun.
He's outstanding before the catch, running routes.
Yep.
After the catch, with the ball in his hands. And in contested situations.
And just catching the ball.
And that's what makes, honestly, all 3 of those guys, though, special in all 3 areas, which makes them the top receivers. I'm going with Julio. I cut Mike off before going him. I'm going to take Julio since we've already talked about him. I think he's, the total package as far as those guys go. Mike, who do you have for best?
So I went Antonio Brown for Offensive Player of the Year, so I'm going to stick with him here. I just wanted to mention a couple other names, though. I think if it is going to be a tight end, I think someone like Jordan Reed could have a big year with them losing Pierre Garçon, them losing Deshaun Jackson. Kirk Cousins already targeted him on something like 24% of his routes last year. Really high percentage for a tight end.
He's a huge part of Cousins'
and he could get even
success.
that could get even higher.
Yep.
And Martellus Bennett at tight end as well.
I love that one.
Aaron Rodgers last year when Jared Cook was healthy targeted him at the second highest rate of any tight end in the NFL.
And more to the point, made him look good. And he made Jared Cook
actually when he was on the field was good last year. And when Aaron Rodgers has tight end, he's going to use him a lot, and especially in the red zone. I think Martellus Bennett could.
Aaron Rodgers turned a bad tight end into a good tight end. What can he do to a good tight end?
I have to say, the more you see good offenses year in, year out, almost all of them do have a tight end that they can use as a mismatch type of weapon. So I do like that. I mean, Gronk has to be in the conversation again, too, if he's going to be healthy for all 16 games. I'll take Julio on that one. Let's go best offensive lineman. So just individual offensive linemen, all 5 positions are on the board here. Sam, who are you going with best offensive lineman?
Yeah, it's the guy we've already mentioned before as
Hall of Famer.
The Hall of Famer with the outside shot of the Stephenson Award. I think it has to be Marshall Yanda. He is the best offensive lineman in the NFL at the moment. If he plays a full 16-game schedule, doesn't miss any time or that kind of thing, he should be the guy that wins this award.
Yeah, tough to argue with. Renner, Mike, who you got?
I went a little different. Sure. I'm not going to argue with Yanda.
Mike's going to pick a tight end or something. Martellus Bennett. He's going to take Martellus Bennett.
I went with Trent Williams. What he did last year when on the field, highest grade tackle, easily.
Can he duplicate it? That was a career year.
I mean, he has all the tools. 4 years. He has all the ability to do it. I mean, he's a monster physically. I think he can do anything at the tackle position. So he's.
Do you think he's the best tackle in the league heading into this year? You have Joe Thomas.
Well, I think Tyron Smith is, but Tyron Smith, I don't trust his back. So I would pick Tyron Smith healthy. I think he can do more than any tight end.
Cross him off.
I think Trent Williams is a little more powerful. Tyron Smith can execute a little more blocks.
Yeah, I actually think Trent Williams is the best tackle in the league when he's healthy. Not when he's healthy. When at his best, he's the best tackle in the league, I think. But we've seen that twice. We saw it last year and we saw it, 2013? And the guy that we've seen every other year hasn't even been in the same ballpark. So if you tell me that we're getting that guy again, I agree 100%.
That's what I'm telling you.
I think he's right up there. If we don't get that guy again, no chance.
You made me cross Tyron Smith off. He was my choice. Now you're instilling doubt in my head because of the injury stuff. Tyron Smith with
yourself.
Well, Tyron Smith at his best, I think, is the best tackle.
That's fair.
I mean, he can make every block in the run game. Smooth pass protector, can do it all, handles good rushers as well. But I want to throw the other name in there, his teammate Travis Frederick, who would be my number 2 there. I just think Frederick, and we've talked about him a lot on this podcast. You don't have a whole lot of centered discussion in the podcast world, I don't think, but we all love watching Frederick play. Some of the reach blocks that he makes, perfect for the Dallas scheme. He can make all the blocks necessary in the run game. And when you make some of the reach blocks that he makes in their zone game, it's almost like being like a shutdown corner and taking out a side of the field. It's almost like stealing 2 gaps in the run game when you can make a reach block on a nose tackle. That's my analogy for how important it is when you can do that by yourself without help from the guard, and he does that all the time. So I like Travis Frederick.
To go back to Tyron Smith, one of the interesting things about him is while he's never been in our system, he's given up pressures. He will have games where he gives up pressures, gives up sacks, but he also, probably more than any tackle in the NFL, has dominant pass blocking snaps where a guy won't even get off the line of scrimmage. And he'll be stuck in his tracks, which helps when you have a mobile quarterback like Dak Prescott. That gives him the out to go run outside the pocket. When you look at him compared to someone like Andrew Whitworth will give up fewer pressures, but he's kind of holding up. He's not really dominating you at the line of scrimmage. He's catching you and then stuffing you, still 3 yards, still giving the quarterback room to throw, but not the same level of dominant pass blocking snaps that we see from Smith.
It's a good point, Mike. It is a debate we have over here sometimes because I still think
more valuable.
Right. The most important thing is still probably just don't lose. If you just never lose a block, whether you give up a little bit of ground or no ground, you're giving your quarterback a chance. But there is something to be said for completely stoning your guy. Let's go best team offensive line, Sam. Who you got for the overall team?
It sounds like, well, it is the easy choice, but it's one that I've been doubting for a while coming into the season, but just from 2.5 games of preseason.
Sam's going to overreact
preseason.
Yeah, exactly.
Preseason analysis
The more I run down this particular alley of thought, the more dumb it sounds in my own head. But I think the Dallas Cowboys line is going to be the best again. We've talked about how they have 3 pretty consistent All-Pros. You know you're going to get All-Pro performance out of Tyron Smith, Travis Frederick, and Zach Martin being the other one at right guard. And then it was a case of what are you going to get from the other 2 positions that are now in flux heading into this season. And if they were both terrible, that line wasn't going to be nearly as good as it's been over the past few years. I think looking at La'el Collins at right tackle, he is going to be a far better right tackle than he ever was a guard in the NFL, at which point I almost don't care what the left guard position looks like. Jonathan Cooper could go out there and play like on his hands and knees for the entire game and it wouldn't matter. They'd be fine. So I think as long as La'el Collins holds up at right tackle, and to be honest, let's remember, it's not as if Doug Free was awesome. He just needs to be okay. That line should be the best line in the game.
The debate we always have is this whole, top-heavy line with just, reasonable guys beside them versus the 2016 Pittsburgh Steelers, which was solid across the board. Maybe no exceptional players there at all. So I think that's more of a preference thing when you're looking at the line. If that's the case, I think the Steelers and the Titans are in the mix. Mike, do you have
I went Steelers.
A pick? Yeah.
I think they, across the board, no weaknesses. And again, they take it's a symbiotic relationship with Le'Veon Bell, but they do it well. They take guys off the line of scrimmage for him with those double teams. They're very good at it. And again, continuity. 5 guys, same 5 guys, all coming back.
And
Alejandro Villanueva playing at the best football of his career. What he played down the stretch
continues to get better.
Top 10 sort of left tackle play. So
wide receiver at Army, 6'10" wide receiver at Army. I'm going to take the Cowboys for part of the reasons that you said too about Tyron Smith, Mike. The pockets so Dak last year, he did face some pressure just from a pure percentage of snaps standpoint, but his clean pockets were just ridiculous. He had so much real estate to maneuver in clean pockets. I think Dallas, they'll give up some pressures here and there, but when they protect him, it's better than anyone else. And I just think they just have so much potential in the run game. They're just so fundamentally sound across the board. I will take Dallas. And because I do think La'el Collins graded well for us as a tackle at LSU. I think he's at least flash potential at guard. I think he'll be fine at right tackle.
He faced pressure, but if you're using just pressure numbers, a lot of times that's quarterback dependent. If a guy's not getting rid of the ball on time, if a guy's going to hold it that extra half second, anyone in the NFL is going to face pressure. You just can't hold up as an offensive line for that long. But they afforded him that time a lot. His sack rate, the thing was he didn't convert a lot of pressures to sacks because they weren't, quality pressures. A lot of, guys still on offensive linemen, even though they're affecting the quarterback. It wasn't guys getting beat cleanly in free rushers on Dak Prescott, getting to him.
Yeah, that's the point I wanted to make, because I don't have like a clean number to say, well, he got pressured less than any quarterback in the league, because that just wasn't true. Derek Carr has those numbers to back him up. He was rarely pressured, but yeah, Dak had really good pockets, and it's like the opposite of your team, the Chargers. When Rivers got pressured, it was collapsing from 4 different angles. When Dak got pressured, it was like one guy happened to lose his block, and then it's okay because I could slide 4 yards over to the left because my left tackle and left guard are making good blocks. So I'm with you there. That's why I'm taking
Who is going to be
Dallas.
This year's Tennessee Titans on the offensive line in terms of a line that dominates that we weren't really expecting to coming into the year?
Well, expectations, it depends on expectations, right? Because we're high on the Eagles line when you just look at the man-for-man. We're high on the Browns line when you look at the man-for-man. So, I guess we're expecting those teams, but there's still teams that have revamped things a little bit and should be in the mix, right?
Yeah, I think both those 2 teams are the 2 teams I was going to mention. Oakland is another one that could be in this conversation, not for exceeding expectations, but for actually being, the best line in the NFL. I think those are the teams.
What about New England? If Joe Thuney makes the leap, which we high on him coming out, he was not amazing as a rookie. He was good enough that he was an improvement. But if he turns into an actual above-average guard, sort of like Shaq Mason did his second year, and then Shaq Mason turns into an elite guard with the progression we're seeing him.
And Marcus Cannon came out of nowhere to look really good last year. Here's what I'll say about Thuney, because David Bakhtiari. I'm going to compare him to Bakhtiari, the left tackle for Green Bay. Bakhtiari, when he came out, gave up something like 50% of his pressures were all on bull rushes.
He was
undersized and he just wasn't strong enough. Yeah. And that was Tooney last year too. He gave up something like 20 pressures on bull rushes, and it's a little bit more important in the middle. My point is Bakhtiari got around that. You get stronger, you get used to the NFL. I feel like Tooney is going to make that jump. He's a good all-around guard. If he could just anchor a little bit better, so I do think you're going to see that progress in his career. So yeah, maybe
he had mono junior year. Couldn't lift anymore.
That's what it is.
That was actually what it was.
Mono. That killed my junior year, Mike. That's why I didn't get drafted my junior year in college. I had mono at the beginning of the year.
This is a football podcast.
I always try to drop my baseball career in as much as possible, though. Just reliving
we know.
The old days. All right, best pass protector. Individual pass protector, Sam.
Yeah, it's Marshall Yanda again. Best guard.
God.
6 total pressures last year.
In your show notes, we will call this the Marshall Yanda.
Yeah, podcast. Marshall Yanda hour.
You got lazy. I have the sheet of your answers, and it's just Watt, Yanda, Watt, Yanda, Watt, Yanda.
Well, look, I'm trying to stay logical with this.
Best QB, Watt.
He is the best guard in the NFL. The guy allowed 6 total pressures, playing 2 different positions last year. Yeah, he's going to be it.
All right,
we're not going to get that year from Bakhtiari again, which was the only thing that kept him out of it this year.
I went with a little different. I went Josh Sitton. He had 3 straight years where he led in pass blocking efficiency.
Thought about him.
Only 41 total pressures the last 4 years, including the playoffs, and not including the game he played tackle, which was not good. 3 guards gave up more than that last year alone, one of them being Joe Tooney. 41 pressures in 4 years.
Pretty good.
The thing that stopped me from going with Josh Sitton, 1, he may miss time because he's getting a bit more banged up as he gets older. 2, they're making him play right guard again, which he'll be able to do fine, but I think it will cost him more pressure than he had a left guard. And he just won't be as good as Yanda.
I'm going to go with Joe Thomas. Bouncing back. You guys are all ready to write him off because he's 50 years old and all this stuff. He's really not that old. He took a slight step back last year, but I'm going to say it's not just because it's this declining age thing. It just was a slight anomaly. Joe Thomas bounces back as the best passer.
Although Deshaun Kaiser's quarterback there.
I'd like to think that we're
holding the ball.
No, I'd like to think that we'll be able to. Our system accounts for that enough. The number I always use on Kaiser, we gave Kaiser 10 sacks in 2015. We assigned for him. We assigned his offensive line 7 the entire season. So
it's not the sacks, though. It's the pressures. So they don't have a single quarterback that will make Joe Thomas look good. No matter who ends up starting there, it's going to make his job harder because either it's Kaiser doing what Kaiser does or it's Cody Kessler holding the ball for a fortnight.
Kessler does hold the ball a little bit too long.
Yeah, or it's Brock Osweiler just being
Brock gets rid of it quickly. Brock will be fine.
Yeah.
He just won't see the field.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Any of those guys, it's going to make Joe Thomas's job harder.
Whatever. Joe Thomas bounces back. Give me your best run blocker, Sam.
Best run blocker.
Marshall Yanda.
No, not Yanda.
Whoa.
I went with somebody else. I went with Kelechi Osemele from the Oakland Raiders.
Osemele. Good finish on that guy on Twitter.
That entire
finishes on Twitter.
That entire offensive line just buries people in the run game. It crushes guys, and he is probably, him or Donald Penn are the strongest kind of 2 guys on that line. And together, they will just truck a guy. And individually, he will destroy people as well. So, yeah, Osemele, I think, is going to be the best run blocker in the league.
What do you got, Mike? Best run blocker? Best finishing run blocker in the
I'm NFL. Going a little different. You probably aren't. I'm going with Ali Marpet. Ali Marpet, I know he switched from guard to center this year.
Explain to the listeners who he is.
Okay, Ali Marpet's the center for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Explain to them who he is. We've got smarter listeners than that.
I'm just playing.
Ali Marpet, though, freak of nature athletically. His combine numbers, I have them pulled up. They're ridiculous. Sub 5-second 40, 30 reps on the bench, 30-plus inch vertical. Cone and shuttle were both tops in the class. He is a freak athlete.
Division III.
And he takes dudes off the ball. He is an ox. His run grade over the last 6 games of last year, I think, was tops of any guard in the NFL. Has improved each year of his career. I think he takes that next step. I was a huge fan of him coming out. I think he's finally adjusted to the pro game and to where he can be a dominant. I don't love that he switched to center just because switching positions always takes a little bit, but I still think
it's good to get his name out there, though. He has been fun to watch. It has been fun to watch his development.
To make any block sort of guy, like you just do it all.
Teron Armstead I would have had in this mix too, as a similar small school guy who just, boom, shot up to become an elite player. I'm going to go back to Travis Frederick, though. We're talking pure run blocking.
You have to talk about him.
Got to talk about Travis Frederick and his awesome reach blocks. It's Travis Frederick. He is going to be the best run blocking offensive lineman this year.
The thing that separates Frederick to me versus there are other good reach blocking centers. Frederick doesn't give up ground into the backfield, though. You'll see guys like Matt Paradis, Alex Mack. It's probably the number 2 and number 3 centers in the behind Frederick in the NFL.
As far as pure zone blocking,
as far as zone blocking centers. Frederick doesn't give up ground into the backfield, which is huge for that. Like when you're the running back reading that block, it's so big to have that sort of extra split second to have to decide than if you are, if the center's ending up in your lap, you have to decide that much quicker.
It's a great point. He is so smooth getting around that block and kind of stoning a guy at the line of scrimmage instead of 2-3 yards into the backfield. A couple more to get through, going to the defensive side of the ball. A lot of crossover to what we talked about earlier, but best pass rusher in the NFL this year. There's another name I want to throw in this in a minute that we haven't talked about yet.
Yeah, it's J.J. Watt. Next.
J.J. Watt is Sam's
I went Aaron Donald because I went defensive player of the year. He's going to be a good pass rusher, too.
Yeah. So we said Watt, Donald,
Who's your
Von
name?
Miller, Khalil Mack, Joey Bosa. Is Joey Bosa ready to jump into this mix here? He gets to play Broncos right tackles twice a year, too.
Yeah.
That poor AFC West right tackle. Sorry, Mitchell Schwartz. It's rough over there.
Why do you sign there?
Mitchell wanted the challenge.
You're a tackle coming out of the draft. Like Garrett Bowles is just
poor Garrett Bowles.
At least he's at left tackle. These guys are all on the other side.
Yeah, until they play them.
I'm gonna say Watt. Yeah, I think Watt has that bounce back. Watch out for Von Miller though. Von and Watt are always up there. Mm-hmm. All right, Sam wrote my notes for me. He's calling this next one the best Damon Harrison, run defender. So, best run defender in the NFL. Are we completely renaming this the Damon Harrison?
Yeah, I think we just change it now. It's the best run defender is now the best Damon Harrison. He's going to be the best run defender. He is every year. He is ridiculous.
Big Snacks, the best run defender in the NFL. I like that he did it with a different team last year.
Yeah.
Sometimes, it's a different scheme and you're not used the same way and all that fun stuff. He just is so stout at the point of attack, so good at shedding blocks, and he has the hashtag tackle radius to make tackles across other gaps, which I love. And that's why he's always up there.
Someone else, you're overthinking it.
Yeah.
Just if we wanted to go to a couple other positions, though, Luke Kuechly at linebacker, and then your boy Landon Collins at safety. Collins gets to play a little bit of strong safety, plays a lot of quarters where he gets to work downhill, and he's a missile working downhill in the run game. But it's a Damon Harrison award. All right, let's go to the best coverage player. And again, this is just like receiver. This can be any position. This could be Aaron Donald dropping into coverage if you think he's going to be great. It could be anybody. Sam, who's going to be the best coverage defender? It doesn't have to be a cornerback.
So this was where I got to my cornerback, and I wanted to throw in a name that is not going to be at the top of everyone else's list. I mean, it does require a projection and a further development this year, but Malcolm Butler is right on the cusp of being an elite top-level corner. If you just look at his PFF grades for the past few years, 76.3, 86.2, 88.1. If there is another jump this year, he's right up there with the best corners in the game. His coverage numbers aren't always as good as some of these other guys. He does get beaten every now and again, which is always a bit of a black eye for, supposed shutdown corners. But pretty much every cornerback gets beat at this stage. Nobody is having 2009 Darrelle Revis seasons anymore, at which point you're dealing with a slightly lower kind of threshold, and he could easily be that guy. I think having someone like Stephon Gilmore in New England is going to help him out as well. They're going to get some more favorable matchups than they've had in the past. I think he could have a special season.
Malcolm Butler taking the step forward. You disagree
I just don't
on him in general, or you just don't think he'll be the best coverage player?
Like, I think he's a good player. I don't think he's even close to a top 5 cornerback at this point in the NFL.
Oh, that's cold.
I would take a lot of guys over him.
Like who? Who you got?
I mean, who I picked for this, I picked Jalen Ramsey. Just the way he finished last year was dominant at times.
Year 2, Jalen Ramsey, best coverage.
Really got a lot better as the year went on. Followed number 1 receivers by the end of the year. I'm not sure he's going to follow again with AJ Boye there, but it's going to take some pressure off him having another shutdown corner there with him. I just think he takes the next step.
Okay, so
52.9 completion percentage in his coverage last year. Not to cut you off, but that's good.
No, Ramsey was outstanding down the stretch. I'm going to talk about him in a little bit too on one of our maybe our breakout player award list.
Okay.
Chris Harris, I think, should be in the mix. I think he just defies the odds every year, right? At some point, you just expect him to slow down. And they have a new scheme over there. I don't think scheme matters for him. He can play man, he can play zone, inside, outside. I think Chris Harris right there in the mix, and I'll throw Patrick Peterson up there as well because, again, if we're bringing in difficulty of assignment, what he has to do, there's a huge question at number 2 corner in Arizona. Peterson's going to have all the pressure on him, and if he can avoid any bad games, he's right up there. Peterson has to be in the mix, and a healthy Luke Kuechly. I keep throwing Kuechly in the mix. He won the award 2 years ago. Comeback player of the award. We're going to spend 5 seconds talking about why J.J. Watt's going to win this.
Yep. Well, not even that. I'm just going to say yeah.
Mike?
I'm not going to talk about it.
I hate that award.
Yeah, it's not nice.
It's really can we just eliminate that award?
Comeback. It's like
it's a very flowers and pretty things.
Touchy-feely comeback player of the award. J.J. Watt will be the guy. Let's talk breakout players. Who is going to break out? We can do both offense and defense, but in general, breakout players. Who is on your board, Sam?
Oh, I had my hand up.
Mike, go. I'm just going in order here.
Jared Goff.
That's
no explanation to that. Jared Goff will do it. He's going to do it this year. I got a lot invested.
Looks good in preseason. Invested? You mean like financially or like your own?
No, I just think he's, just from what I've seen this preseason, looks like a completely different quarterback. And they actually sneakily have a lot of talent on that offense. With the Sammy Watkins trade, they have adding a number 1 receiver kind of makes every other position look better because it's like, Robert Woods was the number 1 before that. Robert Woods is number 2 looks a lot better than Robert Woods is the number 1.
I call him the 2.5. Yeah, Robert Woods the 2.5 because
Tavon Austin as a number 4 looks a lot better than Tavon Austin as a number 2. So and then what Cooper Kupp did as what Cooper Kupp has done out of the slot looks very impressive. That to me was
Gerald Everett.
I was like, that opened my eyes a little because he was getting Cole Beasley-esque separation in that game against the Raiders.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I like the Goff breakout. That makes sense to me.
Yeah, he was on my list. I can't believe you guys accused me of overreacting to preseason, and then Mike's over there.
Okay, all right.
Goff had a good game. I'm ready. Yeah, when he's ready.
One game from Goff, and then
games.
No,
he played 2 series in the first game.
Yeah, looked good too.
One good game from Goff, and Rams. The entire starters are reclaimed as a talented unit, and they're Goff's away. A few other names that I had on my list. DeForest Buckner, I think, could break out. He played a lot in his rookie year, but it was more
doing offense.
It was more volume. I was just going everything. It was more volume than kind of dominant play. I think this is the year that we could see his talent level as opposed to just how much he can actually get out there and play. James Bradbury could be primed for a really big year, another corner in Carolina. Some of the stuff that he did in that rookie season were ridiculous. Some incredible reads in zone coverage that you just don't see from rookies breaking inside.
He was really good
on some of those quarters coverages that Carolina loves to run. And the one more name that is at least as much hope as expectation is Devontae Parker in Miami. With Jay Cutler there, he is, from what we've seen so far, which admittedly, again, preseason overreaction, he is going to relentlessly target Devontae Parker. And so we should at least get a chance to see if Devontae Parker can be the receiver that we thought he could be coming out.
I love the Devontae Parker pick. I thought he was a fantastic receiver prospect. I think he's flashed it at least, the last couple of years. So I think that is a good pick as well.
Cutler likes bigger receivers too.
Oh, I said Cutler's going to just say, hey, are you Alshon Jeffrey? Are you Brandon Marshall? You're close enough. Here, go
Let's
get the
find
ball.
out.
Mike, who else you got?
I don't want to be too much of a homer, but I wrote down Chris Jones and Joe Schobert as well.
I wrote down Chris Jones as well. That's fine.
Joe Schobert was a complete overreaction to one really good preseason game, but
we talked about it on the preseason week 2 review. We gave you proper credit for loving Schobert, but middle linebacker that he was still putting his hand down and rushing the passer, and they're using
doing it all. He was using them the way I would have used them coming out, and I love it.
And Chris Jones, was...
Yeah, I'm not sure you can qualify as a breakout considering he was actually good a season ago and played, 500 or so snaps. But if he plays a full-time 800 snaps, I think he could be like a 10-sack sort of guy.
Best interior pass rusher as a rookie last year. Best rookie rusher last year. So you give him a little bit more time, and he should be good. we talked about Jalen Ramsey a little bit earlier. I put him as my at least defensive breakout player. I think you just see more dominant play from Ramsey. Also want to mention Hunter Henry, tight end with the Chargers.
I'll just say, as long as Antonio Gates is there, he's going to rob every other tight end that plays.
I don't care. It doesn't
Phillip Rivers
matter.
is just like can't stop throwing it to him. You could put out Antonio Gates could come to a game like 5 years after he's retired, and Phillip Rivers will start throwing to him in the stands.
Come on,
That's
man.
like how much Phillip Rivers can't get away from Antonio Gates.
But Hunter Henry's so good. You can just see he's got that extra step.
I love Hunter Henry. Yeah.
Hunter Henry is still going to break out. There's enough.
Reminds me of a bigger Travis Kelce who could block a little more. Like, can't move as well as Kelce, but like can block a little better.
Not as shifty, but
yeah.
I'll tell you what. I watched all of Rivers' throws fairly recently, and every time you saw Hunter Henry catch the ball, it just looked a little bit different compared to Antonio Gates at this point in his career. So Hunter Henry should be a breakout player.
I can see them, like, all the yardage will go to Henry and all the touchdowns will go to Gates.
Yeah.
You know, Gates will have a 10-touchdown season off like 22 receptions.
That would still qualify. Any other breakout guys to keep an eye on? Is it too late to add Trey Flowers to that mix? Has he already broken out, or I think we could see even more out of him in New England?
Yeah, I would consider him having broken out.
Ty Montgomery?
He's already there. Grady Jarrett's already broken out.
That was the other one that I was kind of thinking about on that borderline. You know,
depends on perspective. Like, it's like, are we aware of them versus will the national spotlight be on guys like Grady Jarrett and Trey Flowers?
He's broken out as a good player, but I think we could see him go to a completely new level. You know, now that they've got Dontari Poe there, and he's
he was playing nose tackle last year.
I think we could see a completely different Grady Jarrett. So, you know, he's broken out as an established quality NFL player, but we could see him really raise his game.
Anybody else, Mike? Or we're taking it home?
I think we hit him.
All right, we're taking it home. Thanks for everybody for listening. We have all sorts of 2017 previews out there. Please be sure to check out the archive. We gave every one of your teams all sorts of love. We split them into 4 different podcasts. Be sure to go check those out. Sorted them by division. Stay with us all season, guys. We have a ton of podcast fun scheduled for you this year. We're trying to do 4 episodes per week. Let us know what you guys think of that. New formats, mixing it up with some of our hosts and adding the Big Time Throwcast to the mix on the Pro Podcast, dissecting quarterback play every which way. Don't forget about playdraft.com, who we mentioned at the top of the show. Get there, get your free $3 game using the promo code PFF. And of course, don't forget about PFF Edge and PFF Elite, our new fantastic products over at profootballfocus.com. And we have opportunities for you guys to win a free PFF Edge, or actually just get a free PFF Edge. All you have to do is go to profootballfocus.com/DraftKings17 or profootballfocus.com/FanDuel17. Get there, go to DraftKings or FanDuel, make your first $10 deposit, and you will get PFF Edge for free. And then if you want to win PFF Elite for free, just leave us a 5-star review, leave your Twitter handle or an email address so we can get in touch with you if you win. We'll draw one lucky name every single week. It's a $200 value and literally everything you need if you're a football fan, from fantasy to draft to our NFL player grade. So be sure to check out all of that good stuff, and we will all be back shortly with another episode of the PFF Podcast.